Hello there, and thank you for staying with us on Channels Television. Welcome to Newsnight. I'm Neliaku. But again, before we go into today's conversation, let's step back and hear what you had to say, some of you, our viewers, had to say about our previous edition of the program.
Great interviewer and a brilliant deputy governor. I am happy that he accepted that they need to do better in communication, and we need them to do better. Imagine if the youth could go to 36 states and work with the state governments to effectively spend increased monthly allocations. After President Tinubu cancelled the unsustainable fuel subsidy and redirected some of the money to states for development in health, education, industry, just to name a few. But these are youth that are specialized in making noise online, not in solving problems.
This is today. What are we looking at today? You ask me and I ask you, what do you think we should be discussing today? Seeing that in the last few days we've had conversations on both sides of the divide, both the leaders and the led. While the led took to the streets, the leaders took to their microphones or took to their devices or took to different avenues to communicate. No, stop that. To say all that they needed to say. From the 25th of July, to be precise, or thereabout, until the 1st of August, there was intense conversation from the government or those in public office to the led, to the Nigerian citizens, asking that they do not go on strike or protest or take processions along the road for fear of these processions or protests being hijacked by unwholesome elements. Did that stop the people from going to the streets? On the 1st of August, that day dawned with a trickling of people at different venues for what they call a End Bad Governance protest. After a while, the numbers increased. But before the end of the day, it turned out to be chaotic in some parts, while some other parts did not have any protest. Some also had some peaceful processions. But is it necessary to protest? Some say protesting is part of the rights of the citizens. Conversations also are part of the rights of the human being to have conversations on both sides. But as they say, if you're talking and nobody's hearing you, then you're just soliloquizing. So where do we get to where both sides hear themselves and take the right actions or responses? The question of communication comes to play. Is the leadership communicating to the led, or is the led communicating to the leadership? Either way, ineffective communication would result to bad responses, and at the end of the day, everyone begins to wonder where we are. Some say that is the situation that we find ourselves in the last few days, and some say that is the situation Nigeria has been in the last 2 to 3 decades. Is there a way to change this? To change the narrative where the leadership and the led can communicate to each other effectively and move this nation forward? Newsnight sat for a conversation with one who should know, because he's not new to governance and he's in the business of communication, or public relations as some will say. Newsnight sat down for a conversation with the president of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Dr. Neliaku. He talks to us about what is, what should be, and what was, and the way forward. Dr. Neliaku, thank you for speaking with us on Newsnight.
Thank you.
Let's look at this matter of communication in government. Before or during elections, pre-campaigns, campaigns, and even post-campaigns, post-elections, the government, those seeking public office and those in public office, tend to speak more. Why is it that it appears difficult for them to speak after they've entered that office?
Okay, let's interrogate the question first. Is it that they don't speak, or they don't speak loudly, or that the content of what they are speaking is not making sense to some people, or that they may be speaking and citizens are not hearing. It could be a combination of so many factors. When somebody is looking for something, the natural tendency is to look for it with everything you have. Communication, negotiation, consultation, consensus building, trading in, and all manner of things. But you see, once you have got that particular thing, then leadership takes place. And where leadership takes place is for you to now realize that, having got this mandate, as it were, what do I do with this mandate? How do I engage with this mandate? How do I communicate the interrelationship between my vision, the office, my execution or implementation of this vision, and to meet the expectations of the people? That's where I think the issue is. Communication to win votes is different from communication in governance. The templates are different, because at some point you are communicating to win the hearts of people. At the other point, you are now communicating, or you are supposed to be communicating to sell your products. And that's where I think the disconnect usually comes in. For me, as a communicator, I will advise that the same speed, the same content, the same fervency that you used when you were communicating to seek election should be the same level of communication when you are in office.
Okay, let's step back a bit.
Okay.
I know in interrogating that first question, you went to look at, okay, are they speaking, or they're not speaking loud enough, or it's about the content of their speech, or also are the people not hearing them? Now, again, you went on to talk about the disconnect between, now that I've gotten this office, or what do I do with it? How do I sell this product? So let's start from that point. One would think that how to sell the product, or what to do with the office, should have been thought about before, or while you were seeking the office.
Yeah, I agree. But even before then, let's even further interrogate the last statement. Are they speaking, or are they not speaking enough? You know, Nelta, as a communication person, speaking is not necessarily communication, which brings us to the issue of information and communication. Because most times government is involved in information dissemination, not communication. And that's why you see that many, if not most, government officials talk down on citizens. And sometimes it can even be a product of frustration, that they think that you ought to see what they are doing. Haven't you seen that we are doing so well? Haven't you seen that we have done this? Haven't you seen that we have done that? But at the end of the day, it does not occur to them that it's possible that all the things you have been doing, nobody is even seeing it. In fact, they don't even hear you, even when you are speaking, because you are not communicating. So let's really, really break it down along those lines. You can be speaking for all you care. You can talk from morning till night. If you are not communicating, nobody will take you seriously. You know, when you are speaking to people and you are not using the right language, using the right channel, using the right timing, understanding the operating environment within which you are speaking or you are communicating, conscious of the audience you are dealing with, the language that has to be used, the drama that has to be engaged, the body language, because communication is an art as well as a science. If you don't bring all these things into consideration, it will not be communication. And that's why we don't emphasize just communication. We speak of strategic communication, we speak of effective communication, and we speak of responsible communication. These are all aspects of communication. And then we have started speaking of leadership communication, which was why when we had our initial chat, I laughed. Because these are 4 elements. In fact, there is even a 5th one, development communication. So if your communication is not strategic, if it is not effective, if it is not developmental, if it is not responsible, if it does not communicate leadership, you will just discover that you are talking, you are speaking, you are actually making noise, and you are not carrying the audience along.
So in this case here now, the situation of Nigeria as we speak, we know the atmosphere right now. It's a tense atmosphere. It's a kind of almost a kind of atmosphere that is prior to elections.
Yeah.
But it appears, yes, we've said speaking is not necessarily communications.
You're just speaking.
You're just talking.
You're just talking.
So there are 2 sides to this to the communication matter.
Yes.
Now we have the people that have been screaming.
Yes.
Then we have
Are they communicating?
And then we have the government or leadership, those in public office, who have also been screaming.
Yes, but they're not communicating.
But it's as though there's an impasse at this point.
Yeah.
Who will bail the cat? Or how should the cat be bailed?
Okay. The communicators have to arise. The communicators have to arise. This is the time. Because, I mean, let's face it. The issues that the citizens are raising are fundamental issues based on how they feel. Neota. I listened to your TV yesterday, and one of my colleagues who was on air said, you cannot postpone hunger. You cannot reschedule hunger. The issue in Nigeria today is a challenge of hunger and anger. One leading to the other. So you now see Nigerians expressing their feelings in diverse ways. Those who want to protest is their means of expressing their challenge. Those who are in their houses not demonstrating or protesting in the streets are also going through their own challenges. Some are praying, some are cursing, some are doing all manner of things. Yet, in all of this, there are those who are having a good time. Because even in the challenge of the circumstance, there are beneficiaries. And they are smiling. And they are looking good. That's on one part. On the other part, you cannot tell me that government has not done anything right. It's not true. I know because I have information. Okay? This government has done a few things. Previous government, previous government, previous government, this issue we are facing today did not start today. It's a product of over 3 decades, if not 4, when the rains began to beat us. Some people were talking, some were speaking, some were communicating, drawing attention to the danger. Look at even the issue of food crisis. Last year, a gentleman was on social media educating Nigerians that we are going to face food crisis from July to October 2024, that it will be worse. And he gave statistics. He analyzed it very well, and it was very clear that we were going to. What did we do as a people? Don't we have Ministry of Agriculture? What did they do with such information? I'm sure they didn't even get it. Okay? So the issue is this. The people are responding. It's a response. And in communication, you respond in many ways. The people are responding to the challenges that they are facing based on government policies and actions. Government on its own part has been doing quite a bit. But the issue is that the communication may not have been hitting the right targets. And therefore people may not know what is going on. Again, I take it from another angle. Why would government be communicating and they are not hearing? Because sincerely, I must give credit to the Minister of Information. I must, and I hope we'll get to a point in this engagement where we can analyze what has happened. There is nothing anybody expects to be said that has not been said in the last 3 months. At least I have been monitoring government information. I may not say communication, information dissemination. From May 27th, we began to have ministers come and engage on their activities and programs. And each one, in case you didn't observe, was on live television. And at least 3 national television stations took it live, one after the other. They were all coming, they were all engaging, and so on. And it was at the instance of the Minister of Information, because I followed the entire thing. I monitored from the perspective of a communicator to see what was going on. How many people listened? Then, I think about 5 days ago, there was another one. About 5 days ago, I think on Wednesday, there was another one of, I think about 4 ministers. I'm just giving you specific examples. 4 ministers came, they took time to reel out what they are doing, and so on and so forth. So the issue for me is why are they informing? Why are they communicating? If so, why are they speaking? And why are the citizens, number 1, either not hearing, number 2, hearing and pretending not to be hearing, number 3, hearing and not believing what they are hearing, number 4, hearing and not just disposed to the information being communicated to them? Because 1, there is an avalanche of I'm trying to get the right word. There is an avalanche of anger in the land. So, even when you are speaking, the tendency is that you are not hearing. People are not hearing you. Because the avalanche against what is being said is such that you need to rise over the tide to be able to quell the avalanche, contain the avalanche, put the avalanche in submission, and then you can continue.
Okay,
but you see, if the structure of communication is not in place, that cannot take place.
This idea that being the leader or the head, you cannot be vulnerable.
We discovered that leaders rise and fall on effective communication, not strategic communication, effective communication. Because you can be very strategic without being effective, but you cannot be effective without being strategic. So we discover that leaders who don't understand the concept of communication and the concept of public relations as the
part of the leader's paraphernalia.
Exactly. That they make a lot of mistakes. Because you see, the public relations man will advise you on what you need to do, what you need to say, how you need to carry yourself when you are indoors and when you are outdoors. How do you carry yourself? How do you relate with the different publics? How do you process your message? How do you get your feedback? It's important. You must get your feedback independent of your aides. No, you must have your own channel of communication that you're able to know what is going on in the field.
Is this, does this sound like something I heard, and I don't know, but you're not a stranger to government. I heard the former president, Obasanjo, had a way of getting his own feedback. Sometimes he goes out and without telling anybody. I mean, you don't have to confirm or deny that, but is it something that some of them had to do?
I will just give you an example of what happened during the time of Obasanjo on the issue of conspiracy of aides in public communication, as I will put it. Obasanjo had a Minister of Information, and he had a special advisor on media and publicity, and then he had a special assistant on public affairs. You recall all this? It happened that the Minister of Information was doing a lot of work, but every work he did, not every work, most of the things he did, those who were close to Obasanjo in the villa as special advisors and senior special assistants, information, communication, would take the work of this minister to go and show Obasanjo to claim that they were the ones that did it. This happened once, twice, 3 times. Somebody now told the minister, this is what is going on. So the minister laughed. And then the next one he did, he took it directly to Obasanjo without these aides knowing what had happened. He just found a way and reached and said, this is what we are doing, this is what we've done in the past, and so on and so forth, and finished briefing the president, and they left. And then these people carried the same thing to come and show President Obasanjo to say, sir, this is how we have managed for today, this is what we have done. Obasanjo said, ole. This is life story. I don't want to mention the names of those involved. He said, ole. All along you have been stealing the work of the Minister of Information to come here to tell me that you are the one doing it. So he now brought the one that the minister had given him earlier before those ones can say, this is it. Is this not the same thing that you showed me? Ole! Ole! That was vintage Obasanjo. He had his own way. When Obasanjo inaugurated his special advisors in 2003, yes, after his re-election, He said, I have appointed you as special advisors. Please bear in mind that it's not everything you advise me that I will take, because I have access to information which you do not have. People were upset with him. So why would you appoint them advisors? Why would you waste government money? Why would you do this? Why would you do that? Because his experience
taught him
that you don't depend on a single channel of communication, and in this case, information. As a leader that must excel, you must have your independent way of getting information on what is going on. And you know, Nelta, one of the things that we do for you is that it minimizes characters that come to feed you on what is not real.
All right.
Because by the time they feed you on such things, you have a way of knowing, and you can either keep quiet, depending on the situation, or you will tell them, ole.
When Newsnight returns, we ask Dr. Neliaku, is there a way things could have been done differently? Is there a structure to communication that can help the government govern the people and help the people appreciate governance?
Dr. Neliaku, thank you once again. We've been having a very interesting conversation, and I'm at that point where I asked the question. Our environment right now is not what it should be for the creatives, for the businessmen, for even the public servants. It's not what it should be. The tension is too much, the distrust. So what do we do? I mean, we've gone some days now of protests. What do we do?
I think there has to be a process of re-engagement. Government will need to re-engage with the citizens. It's very important, because we've come to a point where citizens, you know, when I say citizens, of course, you know, it's not 100%, but you know, 5 bad eggs can corrupt 20 good eggs. When 15 good eggs refuse not to be corrupted. So the issue here is that the atmosphere has become toxic in terms of perception, in terms of communication, and so on. So government would need to re-engage with the citizens. Government needs a fresh campaign, as though they are campaigning for an election. The only difference is that this one is now governance campaign, not election campaign. And what do I mean? In public relations and in communication, as the case may be, even in marketing communication, as the case may be, stakeholder engagement is a key factor. It is time for government to devise an effective strategy to engage with stakeholders.
How do you determine, in this case now, how do we determine the stakeholders as the entire country? That might be too much in terms of re-engaging the stakeholders, especially when certain elements among the stakeholders are not willing. Hear the statement of the President of the Senate about when you are protesting, we're eating. That has elicited a lot of reactions and the wrong reaction.
Is there a confirmation that he said that? Or is it part of AI-generated fake news? Because these days, you know, unless I see somebody... in fact, even when you see somebody say something, I'm not holding for him, but I know what I have suffered in managing communication.
Okay, but you see this other side of it is, as I told the Lagos State government in one of our interviews, I said, if you're not speaking well, you leave room for speculations. Whether he said it or allegedly said it, whatever he said has given room to that to be generated if it was indeed generated.
Yes.
So those kind of statements.
Let me even help you. We talk about perception management.
Okay.
If they say that he said so, it's because they believe he could say so. Let's put it the way it is. Why wouldn't they say that somebody like the Speaker House of Reps would say such a thing? Because it's not given to him. No? When you look at the personality, you will be able to perceive that this is what this person could do based on what this person has said before and what this person has not said before. You know, and the public is very alert on perception issues. They perceive you based on the impressions that you have given to them over a period of time, and then they now create a reputation around you of who you are. Because it's the way you are perceived that gives the reputation you carry in the hearts of people. So the Senate President, knowingly and unknowingly, has brought out himself in a manner that such a thing could be alluded to him, whether he said so or he did not say so, because he had made certain statements in the past that the public felt, wow, how could this be? I just felt
it's good.
I should drop.
All right. Now, again, so let's go back to that question.
Yes.
How do you select the stake in re-engaging the stakeholders?
Okay.
Now, government will have to re-engage the entire country, as we said.
Yes.
At least we agreed on that.
Yes.
But in the situation where you have these kind of perceptions in some spaces,
Yes.
or allegations in some other
Yes.
spaces,
Yes.
how does the government go about selecting the stakeholders that are point heads that can cause disengagement to reach down to
Okay.
the lower stakeholders?
First of all, government must demonstrate that it is serious about the challenge that the society or the citizens are raising. Why do I say so? I gave you an example of, you asked me to drop half a loaf and start eating 1/4. Meanwhile, you are going about eating 6 loaves all to yourself. These people see certain things that they don't believe that their government is sensitive enough to the challenges that they are facing. And as a result of that, they don't believe government. So the first thing is for government to put its house in order. Left for me, some ministers have no business in that government. I'm sorry. Some ministers don't have business. And I believe that the president, with all the paraphernalia of office, the security, the intelligence people, the monitoring people, and so on and so, I can't be told that he's not aware that some of them are very corrupt and some of them are not even performing. I mean, how can you be a minister in 1 year and people don't even know your name? And I'm telling you this because we did a reputation perception. People, can you tell me the minister of this? They will pick their Google. They will pick their device and start searching. Who is the minister of this? No. It means that either the ministers are not doing their work, or they are not visible, or they are not believable. That's number one. Number two, the entire gamut of governance, executive, legislature, and even the judiciary is perceived to be steeped in corruption. Government must address the issue of corruption so that when people are being told, tighten your belt, they know what they are tightening their belt for. That's number one. Number two, I can tell you this, Nelta, Nigerians are one of the best people to lead if you are honest with them, if you are genuine with them, and they trust you. That does not mean that they are not complex. They are very complex, but you see, their complexity dissolves on the atmosphere of trust and sacrifice. Once they see that you are sacrificing for them, once they see that you are working for them, once they see that you are laboring for them, they believe you. I was elected. I wasn't appointed president of NIPR. I was elected. And within the first 8 months, we understood the operating environment at the institute. And we went for those things that members needed to see and to hear, to now understand that we are serious and we are prepared to lead them. We were able to get to about 90% of those issues. So we now constituted what somebody called a reputational pillar that public relations practitioners can now follow to then aim to rise for. I ask you, in this government, who is a reputational asset? Who? Who would you say that is the reputational asset or reputation asset or the reputation pillar that is driving all this? It is difficult to find out. It's a case of a knife, or indeed 2 knives, in the house of Nwokulu. The one that has head is not sharp. The one that is sharp does not have head. So who will help us to cut the yarn? If you use the one without head, it may give you blisters. If you use the one that has head but not sharp, it won't be able to cut anything. Is it possible that this is what we are facing? Number 3, when Nigerians perceive that you are genuine with them, that you are ready to engage with them, they will give you some chance. What you now do with it is a different thing, and that's where the process of engagement comes in. Let me give you an example. How come that within 5 days to August 1st, the entire structure of governance came out to begin to make some moves, do this, address these people. Some traveled to their states to go and have engagements, town hall meetings, all manner of things that were going on, underground. Why did they have to wait until July 25th to begin to do that? Because they all come and cluster in Abuja. A few that understand that politics is first grassroots would be the ones to go home. I just came back from Anambra State 3 days ago, and I know the situation, and I know the level of things that are going on based on my engagement and so on. So government needs to reconnect to the people. They need to reconnect to the same way they campaigned for election. How was it done? One of the things I believe that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should do and always do, I'm not particular now about His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, no, I'm talking of President of Nigeria, must put in place what I call Citizens Forum. Managers of our presidents put them in prison, technically. They don't allow them to engage with the citizens.
Okay, but does it have to be the president? What about the governors? What about the
That's why I said we must talk about structure.
Okay.
The president should do so at the presidential level. Governors should do so at the state level. Local government chairmen must do so. This president, from information that I know and from things I have read, have given so much to the governors. There must be a way to hold them accountable. Because at the end of the day, apart from FCT, every other problem every complaint, every protest erupts from the states, not from the sky. So if a governor who is governing a state has not been able to demonstrate leadership in a manner that the people would understand with him and say that these ones cares for us, sometimes we say that a man is the God that we see. The governor is the God or the president that citizens see in the state. Local government chairmen, now they have their autonomy. Let's see what they will do. Local government chairmen are supposed to be the God that citizens see, or the governors that citizens must see in their local government. So at the end of the day, it has to be a total thing. Okay? However, Neota, the constituency of the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, is the entire federation. And why do I talk of citizens' engagement? Once in a while, imagine the President of Nigeria sitting at the State House Banquet Hall with about 500 young people. Not virtual, 500 young people. And then on live television so that others can now join from within and outside the country and engage with them. I can tell you this. No matter what anybody has against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you cannot say that he did not prepare to be president. When you listen to him, you will know that he prepared to be president of Nigeria. He knows the issues.
Yeah.
He understands the issues. How did I know? His first major outing as president-elect was Nigeria Economic Summit Group here at the Hilton. I listened to him. I had to check to know if he was reading everything he was saying. I discovered he wasn't reading everything. He went to the UN. He spoke very well at the UN. Now somebody will say, is it not what they wrote and gave to him? I have worked and associated with presidents. I know that even after your speechwriters, I know those that speechwriters wrote stories and gave and they just went and read and they were bumping through their reading. And I know in his own case, he read what he believed in. And he spoke for Africa. He demonstrated leadership. Third time, when they had cabinet retreat, I happened to be one of the resource persons. When he was speaking, I tried to peep to see whether he was using teleprompter. The man was speaking from his heart, and he communicated very well. Then I now said, this man seems to be prepared. Then the person that was beside me said, it took him 20 years to prepare to be president. And in doing so, we used to have various work teams to look at various aspects of this nation and how to make Nigeria work. I said, okay. I said, on these three occasions, I tend to agree with you. So I am not afraid like some aides. I'm not his aide anyway. I'm not afraid like some aides will be afraid. Don't send him. Oh, if you release him to the public, they will chew him. Not him. No. He will be able to engage with Nigerians, take their questions, explain it very well. The state of the economy that this man inherited, it is grace of God that this nation is still, in fact, we have 5 legs, not 2. That's why we are still where we are. But how many Nigerians are aware of this difficulty? Why certain decisions must be taken? Let me stop at this point before they think that I've been paid to come and talk. I'm just speaking like a Nigerian who believes in this country and who will continue to think of how we can deal with this country. Let's go to structure before it's too late.
Okay, I think you actually started on the structure thing when you talked about the engagement, how from the local government level. Now, again, that local government thing, a lot of people, my colleague Aya will tell you that Nigeria's biggest problem is the dysfunctional nature or status of the local government. Howbeit, now, by the Supreme Court's ruling, the local government are supposed to be free, and we've had reactions back and forth. In fact, one of the governors said there is no way you can separate the local government from the states. I don't think that was the idea behind the Supreme Court's ruling. But be that as it may, in terms of communicating leadership and governance in this case, what kind of structure should we run? Because we're almost out of time.
Yeah. Well, I think that it should still be a central or quasi-central communication system. At the federal government level, you have the Minister of Information, who really, I believe, should actually not just be Minister of Information. That ministry should be redesignated Minister of Communication. Yes, because that is the professional title that it should be. I don't want to say Minister of Information and Public Relations, because that is the current cadre we now have in the public service. You can't say that somebody is Minister of Information and then you take communication and give to another person and say it's communication and digital economy. You can have Ministry of Digital Economy, let it be, but have Minister of Communication. Because when the structure is not correct, it affects the output. That's number one. Number two, we have resident information officers in most MDAs. It is time to strengthen those people, give them capacity to be able to collate everything that is going on in all ministries, departments, and agencies. In our own case, ministries and parastatals. Basically, that's what it is. And then you now have, like in the computer, you call CPU, Central Processing Unit, where this communication is processed. And there should be either a weekly or a monthly engagement with the people. Create a program that the people will always look forward to. We want to know what government is doing. Our government today. It doesn't have to be during celebrations. It can be a weekly thing. It can be a monthly thing. Let there be a deluge of what government is doing.
So Neliaku, we're done. We're out of time. But just a word for the nation. If you're going to speak to the nation at all levels, what would it be in 30 seconds?
I want to encourage Nigerians to keep hope alive. This nation is one of the greatest nations on earth by every standard. There is no country like Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's our show for today. I want to thank you again for letting us be a part of your day. I hope you picked a couple of things from this conversation. Let us know what you think. Our handles are right there on your screen. Send a mail, send a tweet, or send a message to the X platform, and we will bring it out to the public as well. But till we bring in another edition of the show, know this: you can always go back to these conversations or all our previous conversations. Just go to our website, channelstv.com/podcast, or on youtube.com/channelsweb. You see the Newsnight playlist and just enjoy yourself. Get a feel of our conversations. Till we come your way again with another edition of the show. Bye-bye.